To configure the Herzum Approval app, navigate to the App menu. Within the App menu, locate the section for managing your apps. Once there, select the Herzum Approval option from the list displayed on the left-hand side of the screen. Let's get started with setting up a basic approval flow in the Herzum Approval app. There are 3 key settings to configure: approvals, conditional rules, and approval mappings. We'll begin by configuring approvals. Click on the Approvals option here in the left menu. In simple terms, approvals define which users need to grant their permission for an issue to move to the next stage. You can configure approvals based on various properties. This can include specific users, roles, specific groups, group pickers, user pickers, the reporter who raised the issue, the assignee who's working on it, or even the project leader. Depending on these properties, the app assigns the pending approval to the corresponding user. Now let's create a new approval. Click the button labeled Add Approval. Give your approval a clear and descriptive name. Here you have 2 options for properties: single property or multiple properties. With a single property, the user assigned to the pending approval must meet that specific criteria. For example, they could be in the administrator role. Multiple properties offer more flexibility. You can set up an approval that requires a user to meet at least 2 of the configured conditions. Let's say the user needs to be in the administrator role and be a member of the Jira admin group. You can even exclude specific properties here, like the reporter who raised the issue. Once you've configured the properties, simply click the Save button to store your new approval. You'll now see your new approval listed on the approval screen. The second configuration we need to explore is conditional rules. These rules can be applied in 3 ways. On the approval configurations, the rules allow you to enable an approval only when a specific JQL expression evaluates to true for an issue. On the advanced settings of approval mappings, and on email templates where you can set up notification templates that are sent only when the condition is met. To create a new conditional rule, click the Add Conditional Rule button. Give your rule a clear and descriptive name for easy identification. Now it's time to define the actual condition. This condition needs to be a valid JQL. Then choose the user who will be used to evaluate the JQL expression. The app will use this user's permissions to assess the JQL. If you select the superuser option, make sure you've previously configured the conditional rule superuser in the global configuration under Approval Superusers. Before saving, you can test your conditional rule. Simply type an issue key in the test field, and the app will tell you if the condition evaluates to true or false based on that specific issue and its configuration. Once you're satisfied with your condition, save the configuration. Your newly created rule will then appear on the conditional rule screen. Now let's look at the final configuration. Approval mappings. An approval mapping defines the required approvals for a specific combination of project, issue type, and workflow transition. Essentially, it tells the app which approvals need to be granted before an issue can move from one stage to the next. To create a new mapping, click the Add Mapping button. On this screen, select the project, issue type, workflow transition, and the approvers who need to grant their approval for this transition. Once you're happy with your selections, click the Save button to store the configuration. Now we've created a mapping for tasks moving from backlog to selected for development. This means a task in your configured project can't transition to selected for development unless all the assigned approvers grant their approval. The Herzum Approval app offers a variety of advanced settings for approval mappings, allowing you to customize them for more complex workflows. Let's take a look at some of the most commonly used ones. First, we have the automatic workflow transition setting. When enabled, this will automatically transition your issue to the approval or rejection status once all conditions are met. To transition the issue to the rejection status when approvals are denied, you'll need to use another advanced setting, the Transition on Rejecting option. This screen will display all your available transitions. Here, as an example, I'll choose the closed transition to mark the rejected issue as closed. Another useful advanced setting is automatic approval request notification. When enabled, an email notification will be automatically sent to all the assigned approvers for the issue. Finally, we have the minimum required approvals or rejections condition configuration. This allows you to set a minimum number of approvals or rejections needed for the transition to occur based on certain conditions. For example, we can set a condition based on the change type field. Here I'm using the change type condition with a fixed number of 1. This means that if an issue is configured with the emergency change type, it will only require one approval to transition to the next state. You can review and configure all available advanced settings by clicking on Advanced Settings within the Approval Mapping screen. Let's now see how the approval mapping works in practice. Here we have a task issue. The approval panel displays the 2 pending approvals we configured earlier. If I try to transition the issue to the selected for development status, a warning message will appear and the transition will be blocked. This is because the issue hasn't received all the required approvals yet. The same behavior occurs if I try to transition to the rejection status. Also, you can see the timestamps in the request notification column. These represent the time when the app automatically sent email notifications to all the approvers involved. Here's a sample of the notification email. Keep in mind that this template is customizable. You can adapt it to your specific needs. Finally, notice the change type field with the value emergency. With this value, the condition configured in the minimum required setting is met. So, if I approve as the only pending approver that my user is assigned, the issue will automatically transition to the selected for development status as defined in the mapping. And now, as in the selected for development status, there are no approvals mappings configured. The message "No approvals are requested for this state" is shown.